Mr. Landsbergis, do you think it's wise to continue the sanction policy? Because some of your colleagues here in the House said that it pushes Russia into arms of China.
Well, I believe that it is not in the interest of Russia to be in the arms of China, first of all. Secondly, European Union is still the biggest market for Russian goods. And it was, and I hope that in the future it might be again. So that means that it's in the very interest of Russia to get the sanctions lifted. And that, in order to be done, Russia has to meet the preconditions which were in place when the sanctions were introduced. So I don't believe that Russia is being geopolitically pushed towards China, since it's not even comparable the market and the possibilities that Russia can get from China compared to the European Union.
Do you think that Russia won't divert its entire gas to Turkey and to China in nearest future? So what can be the consequences for energy sector of European Union of this policy?
Well, the European Union is not applying any sanctions as towards the Russian energy suppliers or providers. That means that Russia is still able to sell its gas and oil to all the countries or unions, let's say, who are ready to buy it. But as from the European perspective, I think that Europe has to diversify, and it's going in the right direction with proposal of energy union and other instruments that could help European Union to buy energy from different suppliers, not only from Russia, but from Algeria or any other country that wishes to propose it. So this is where the problem for Russia lies, that when, and I believe that the time is rather soon, Europe will diversify its supply chain. That means that this will be a big problem for Russia.
Are you talking about big problem for Russian gas sector? But what about European agricultural sector? Is it possible to substitute Russian market for European agricultural workers?
Well, me coming from Lithuania, which is still rather big agricultural producer and sold a rather big portion of its agricultural goods to Russia. We managed somehow, even though with difficulties and with the support from European Commission, but we managed to find new markets for our goods. So I believe that taking example from small countries like Lithuania or Latvia or other Baltic countries, I think that European Union definitely has a chance to find other markets, well, except from Russia.
How long do you expect the sanction policy can last? Because if looking at some European countries as Cyprus, the problem lasts for almost half a century. Do you think that Ukrainian problem can be resolved thanks to sanctions in our nearest future?
Well, first of all, sanctions are there because there were certain preconditions for them to be introduced. Of course, everybody would agree that if the preconditions are not there anymore, and if the situation is changing in Ukraine and the Minsk agreements are there, and if the process for returning of the Crimea to Ukraine is somehow started, then we can believe that sanctions might be lifted. Then I would say, and I would stick to my opinion, that the sanctions will be there as long as needed in order for Russia to change its policy.
Or do you think this retaliation in non grata persons is an effective policy? As a politician, do you think that you have to exchange more with your Russian counterparts in politics or less? Or how you would estimate these gestures towards each other?
Well, European Union, which introduced the sanctions towards some politicians or some officials from Russia, was very transparent in the way. Why did it do that? Those people were directly connected to the occupation of Crimea and other international crimes, I would say even, or obstructions of law. Now, when this list from Russia was introduced, we feel that it's absolutely non-transparent. That means that there is no obvious way to explain why certain politicians are banned from entering to Russia. And I mentioned today during the debate in the plenary session that European Parliament bases its cooperation with international partners on transparent dialogue, and this, of course, is no longer possible.
Do you support this idea that politicians, the elected politicians, your colleagues in Duma, are still banned, or, as some socialists say, this ban on politicians should be lifted to enhance dialogue about Minsk talks?
Well, I think that the ban was there for a reason. And since the reason is still not changed, that means that ban has to stay.
Thank you, Mr. Landsbergis. Okay, now we go.